Hey guys, Parfax here. Today I'm going to bring you a very quick build video for you on my Warden. So I've been putting out a couple videos of me doing 1vx stuff. I did some big gank explosions. I did a 1v7. You can find those both in the link in the description down below. You can find a clip to both of those. And I keep getting the question, I noticed this build is different than your other Warden build. And what is it? You're running half health, you got some different disciplines. What is it? So first, I will say that my other build is still really good. The only reason why I'm running this build is this is more of a PvE slash PvP slash just a very well-rounded build, and we're really kind of utilizing one specific discipline that is completely insane right now. But I love my other build as well. But we'll get started. We'll tell you the differences between the two and kind of go over this build. All right, so first, let's go over the skill tree. The skill tree has changed a little bit. Now, the skill tree is not as, you don't sustain yourself as much as the other tree, but the tree is set up in a way to kind of, you get a little bit more debuffing. It's a little bit better for group play, and the way I have this set up, it's pretty good for catching stealthers. The one problem with my last build was it had super good sustain and had a lot of things, but when it came to stealth, I basically couldn't touch stealthers. They would just stealth away and I couldn't do anything, and I'm a ranger, and it's kind of like, man, now you can just swap to an Elkin, run my exact same build, and you'll be just fine. The Elkin gets a ability here, race Elkin. They, I don't have the thing up here, but they get one of their abilities allows you to see stealth. So that's really good. So you can actually just switch Minotaur to Elkin and kind of run the same build and not have to go this route. But we're going to kind of abuse some of the mechanics that the Warden has with this build. And let's talk about the tree, what changed. So instead of going Survivalist down to Draining Blades, we are now taking Sweep and Fairy Fire. Now, the reason why we're taking these two over the other ones is for one, since we are running half health, we don't have another gap closer, and this disengage, which is the second part of this ability, gives you the ability to actually get to your target. Now, there is a trap that gets put down when you disengage. I don't use it that much. I can show you a little trick while using it if you want to kind of stay in place and use it. But we're using that as sort of our gap closer, and jab is pretty nice. It puts a knockdown. I use that a decent amount of time. And then Fairy Fire gives you this ability here, has a chance to debuff your enemy when you attack, decreasing target's final physical mitigation by 20% and preventing stealth for 30 seconds. Now, the one misnomer about Fairy Fire is if you put this on them and let's say an assassin uses his ultimate, it will cleanse the Fairy Fire off them, but we have ways around that as well. The Fairy Fire is good if you're running against like a Brigand. The Brigand's just not going to be able to stealth. They can't just like, you know, gap close. You know, maybe they'll use their disengage, double dash, and get away, or if they're what else, the single dash. They're not going to be able to stealth for 30 seconds. It's pretty good. Very useful, and the physical mitigation is pretty awesome. Everything else is the same when it comes to here. We're taking all these points. Now we are going the Dark versus Plague. Now, we're going the Dark for one discipline, and that is Lord of the Forest. Lord of the Forest gives you Protection Stake and We Won. So Protection Stake is arguably the best skill in the game currently. It puts down a big field and granting you 25% personal damage modifier to you and your allies for 30 seconds as you remain next to the stake. This skill is just pretty bonkers. And We Won's insane too, so you're getting buffed, and then We Won says reduces damage bonus by 20% in the targeted area. So We Won essentially works as you will, I have it on 3 here. See this? If I was those target those guys over there, We Won, now those enemies are debuffed. If they run out of it, that's fine. It's just wherever you target it, whatever enemies you hit with it, they will deal less damage. So that's kind of the tree, and that's what we've got changed here. We wanted Lord of the Forest instead of Poisoner. I still love Corrupted Soul. I know some people don't run it. You can run another stake. A lot of stake wardens run the stake. But I find that Shrivel and Soulsteel are absolutely crazy. I love both of them. Shrivel I use in the Warden v Warden matchup. As soon as they go to hit their ultimate, you'll see them glow blue. I boop, pop the Shrivel on them, It does some damage to them. It absorbs some of their healing, and just is overall a pretty good spell. And then we have Soul Steel, same thing. Soul Steel's just great. Big AoE on the ground, and it's great. Now, first, let's talk about Barb Stake, which I know a lot of people, I've had a lot of people comment, especially in guilds, stuff like that, why would you run Barb Stake? We have a lot of bleeding as a warden. Our traps will bleed. We have a bleeding skill, but I still really loved Barb Stake. Now, remember, I said this is like a PvE/PvP build, and when I don't have my Trap Master up, and if somebody's, you know, in my field, I want to make sure I have a bleed on them, and this bleed ticks really hard, especially with we're running fortified stakes. It makes my bleeds tick harder. And yeah, as you see here, it says Barb Stake deals more damage, which is great. And then this ups my protection stake to 25% physical damage modifier. Let's see what it says. I forget what it says. It still says it, but this that's because we took out the wrong one. So this is 15, and this takes it up to 25. And then Barb Stake, I don't know if it actually increases the tooltip on it. It doesn't, but it actually does increase the damage. Now, this is just something I will put down in a field to make sure I have bleeding targets. Sometimes Trap Master doesn't hit both people. If you're 1v1ing, Barb Stake is useless. I mean, you have a bleed with your cross slash, you have your bleed with your traps. You're gonna have a bleed on them. Now, Barb Stake, I believe, ticks harder than most of them, so I will still put it down. But you really don't need it in those areas. Now, you can run something like Toxic Trap, which is really good, which will just basically blackmail your enemies, which is pretty insane, and it's really good. But I really do like Barb Trap. A lot of people don't, but it's still to me a really good skill, nice damage over time. Essentially, you put on them, and to me it works really well. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You see the clips. Can you maybe optimize that a little bit better? Yeah, possibly. But I love the very good, well-roundedness of Barb Stake. And then I showed you fortified stakes. It's just going to improve our stakes, increase the radius by 5 meters. Just great. And then we're running Hunter. Hunter is another anti-stealth mechanic that we're running. Now, like I said, you can run a Elkin, which will, I believe, get... I don't think it's Shadow Alertness. I think they get... it might just get... They get some form of alertness. I don't know exactly what it's called. But they get it. Now, the reason why we're running Half Elf is really good for stats. It has the good stats you need for your character. But we're mainly running it for these 3 minor discipline slots. You can go here to the Half Elf, and you can see its passives are still good. You know, when out of combat movement speed, which is fine. You get healed when you get knocked down a little bit. You have Bandit's Armor, which is a barrier, which I love and I use all the time. And if you look, we have a decent amount of just flat stats there. So the class is just very good itself, but then you put in the extra minor, which a lot of classes I don't feel like need an extra minor, but I feel like this Warden build really does. And even if I was to go, maybe you don't want Fairy Fire, and maybe you don't want Disengage, you could 100% run those and then just run your Survivalist with Draining Blades. Draining Blades is insane, but I do go into the bow a lot more with this build because I'm not a Minotaur. I don't have that knockdown. I don't have that frontal immunity, and so I really need to get into the bow range a lot, and I get a lot of bow kills. But you can do it that way, but that's what I've been running. I love Draining Blades. If they nerf something along with this setup and it is severely nerfed, we're going to go back to the other build. I don't know if I will swap to Minotaur or not, depending on what I want to do here with these. What you could do is you could run the exact same build that I'm running, but instead of running Lord of the Forest, you can run your Poisoner, and then you can run, instead of Fortified Stakes and Barb Staked, you can run, what's that minor? Well, Hunter. You basically just add, I can't remember the 2 minors I used to run on my other Warden build, but just throw in Hunter. Hunter's really good. It'll kind of fix that need, but you're still not going to have your gap closer. You do lose 1 knockdown with here, or maybe you can even swap out one of the other minors for Hunter. I think Hunter, this is the main reason why I wanted to swap, because I really wanted a couple disciplines, and I really needed anti-stealth. So I really went, like, I originally made this build, and I'm like, man, you know what? Screw the stealthers. We're going Fairy Fire, which is just a great skill itself. We're going Hunter. We're making sure these people don't get away. So that's kind of an explanation on why I went half elf and why I swapped up the build this way. Now, I mentioned something with disengage. So one thing you can do, because if you look here on the tree with our disengage here, it drops a trap. One thing people don't know that you can do is I put out a video about basically animation canceling. You can actually animation cancel your disengage. Watch, I'll disengage and I'll dodge forward. And essentially I'm almost in the same exact spot, but I put a trap down. So if you really just want to put a trap down on your feet, and let's say your concussive trap is down, you can just do a disengage into that. Now, when you disengage, it does put you into your ranged bar, which isn't bad because I have we won on this bar and not on my front bar. So whenever I do that, I make sure we won the target, give a good old rapid fire. And then, you know, sometimes I'll put down that and we'll swap back to this bar. This playstyle does play a little bit different. This playstyle is definitely more AoE based. And by AoE, I mean, we want to fight in a confined area. If you can fight in the confined area, this build is better than my other one. But if you are moving and kiting and stuff like that, this build's not as good because we're really relying on a lot of our stakes. So we have 7 and 8 here. We have barb stake and protection stake. And then we have soul shrivel. And we have our barrage. So we have so much AoE damage, and it's really good against the warden versus warden matchup because the wardens are going to want to stay in here anyway. Now, some of the wardens will be good and they'll be like, get out. But then you can even do this. You can disengage and reset your stakes. And now I can put my stake. Actually, I just swapped the stake out, but you should have the other stake on the ranged bar as well. And we're just going to put down both stakes. Now we have both stakes down, and we can swap back to here if we need to, put down this, and we're back into it again. So this is a very much sort of almost a Templar-esque playstyle, but you do have a bow, and the bow is extremely key, especially when fighting against assassins. So when you go against, why are my stuff all messed up? There we go. So when you go against assassins, whenever they stealth, instantly swap to this bar and hit your alertness. And it is rarely does a stealther ever get away from me. With this, it gives me, let's see if I can find exactly how far I have for anti-stealth. So my perception is 70, and as you can see here, my detection range is what, 27. Increase the range of detected enemies by a point. The default detection range is 27, so I get 27 plus 70. So you'll do 0.23. Hold on. We'll actually just do the math here. Hold on. All right. So when you have your alertness up, my range goes to 43 meters. So I go from 27 to 43, and it's really hard for someone to get away from you. You are just, you can see in some of my clips that I have in the description down below, it's just, the assassins just can't get away. It's really hard. Have I had people get away? I think 1 or 2 have gotten away from me. Now they've been in a big distance away. They've used their ulti to really get out of jail free. Now, the duelists are a little bit harder because they have their tunnel, and I've had 1 or 2 duelists get away from me, and I haven't fought that many of them. So they are a little bit better capable, or they're like more capable of actually getting to you. But there is nothing better than popping your alertness because you're trying to find somebody, and then looking and finding another stealther that wasn't the person you're attacking. That's happened to me a couple times, and it is absolutely great. So I really, really, really suggest, no matter what build you're running, my other warden build or this warden build, make sure you put on alertness because, man, is it good. It just really makes it to where stealthers can't really kill you most of the time because you're a warden, and then they can't get away because you can see them in stealth. The buff itself lasts, so the buff lasts 30 seconds and it's a 38-second cooldown. So you have 8-second downtime on your alertness. So it's really good, really amazing. I know we're not going to show any gameplay. I'll put some links in the description down below if you want to see a couple of my clips I have with this build. It's been a lot of fun. You can see my passives over here, but I went over the tree and the miners and the majors, and I hopefully kind of stressed on why I'm running this build currently. I still love my other build. and I haven't decided whether I'm going to go plate or not. Stakes are pretty powerful right now, and I am tending to run more in groups, which this one is a little bit better for groups because stakes are insane. Thanks for watching, guys. I know this end of the part was kind of like weird and kind of rambly, which heck, half my videos are rambly, but I wanted to bring you guys my build here, and I hope you enjoyed it. Both builds are very good. This is just more towards, I made it more towards group play and larger scale numbers, but it works great in small scale. As you can see, it's done great. Essentially, if you just put on a warden, you can win. Put on a warden, either get some stakes, get some poisons, you know, get whatever, run either build. I love Protection Stake, Lord of the Forest. Corrupted Soul is probably my favorite. Get whatever you want. You're a warden. You're going to win. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.